If somebody contacts you that you didn't reach out to, do not provide your personal information to them under any set of circumstances.
Joining me now is Michigan's Attorney General, Dana Nessel. Hi, Dana. It's good to see you.
Hi, Christy. Good to see you.
You know, life has changed for everyone, for all of us, so dramatically in the last 3 weeks or so. Can you talk a little bit about what's it been like in terms of your office and tackling the various different things that are now coming into the AG's office while you're working from home as well?
Yeah, so it's busier than ever. And when I say busier than ever, I mean, I really have to commend my staff who are working, even if they're not at the office and they're working remotely, they are working very hard. So we are perpetually working with the governor's office. As you know, she's been promulgating these new executive orders daily, multiple times a day, on some incredibly important topics. So of course, we provide legal advice to the governor's office. But what we've also had to do is really ramp up our consumer protection division. So we've worked really hard in terms of combating these COVID-19 scams that are coming at consumers all around the state 24/7, and also, protecting consumers against price gouging, which has been worse than we have ever seen it in the history of our state, exponentially so. And at a time where people can least afford to pay for products that they desperately need and that have been grossly inflated in terms of the pricing.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk first about the scams. What is your office seeing? What do you want to tell people to look out for?
Well, so there are scams coming at consumers constantly. And, the best way to take advantage of a person, unfortunately, is when they're most vulnerable because they're so scared. And here, scared and terrified that, they or someone they love is going to be infected by COVID-19 and potentially die. So what we're seeing are things like the COVID-19 Defender patch, which allegedly is a patch that you can purchase for $49.95 that will immunize you somehow against contracting COVID-19. That's flagrantly false. It's untrue. There is no way to immunize yourself. We have seen really, really disturbing is in relation to the stimulus checks that we now know, this has been passed by Congress, signed by the president. And so there are stimulus checks that will be received by, all Americans. And so you have the scam artists that are out there right now, and they are contacting people through email, through text messaging, through phone calls, indicating that in order to receive your stimulus check, you'll have to provide your personal information involving your social security number, maybe even credit card information, all kinds of personal information you would never normally give to people, but people are desperate and they need that money, so they provide it. And we just issued a few minutes ago another alert that people are reaching out saying they're from the Department of Health and Human Services or they're from local health departments. And that perhaps there is a loved one that has been hospitalized or needs emergency treatment, and they need to have their COVID-19 test prepaid for in order to receive it. And people are desperate and they are providing that information. So my caution to all your viewers is this: if somebody contacts you that you didn't reach out to, do not provide your personal information to them under any set of circumstances. Hang up the phone or don't respond to the email. You can reach us at the Michigan Department of Attorney General. We will verify it for you, or look up the number independently and call back and see if it is legitimate or not. Multiple times you're being spoofed. That email's not really coming from the Department of Health and Human Services. That phone call really is not coming from the health department or the emergency room. Call back independently, look up the number yourself, and make sure that you're getting a call from whoever they actually purport to be.
It is horrific to hear about people preying on people at this time when a lot of us do feel that desperation and talking about getting our hands on goods that we want. We see people lining up at grocery stores. We hear about the run on toilet paper, and it feels like there's only so much that we can control in this situation, and getting goods for our families is one of them. I know that you're dealing with some price gouging issues. What are some of the retailers that you've talked to right now? What should people be looking out for in terms of making sure that, retailers aren't taking advantage of a really tough situation right now?
Well, we've always had the Consumer Protection Act that is available to consumers in our state when products are listed at a grossly inflated price. But during the course of the state of emergency, the governor has promulgated a new executive order, and she did so on March 15th, that essentially says that if a product is listed at a price that is 20% or greater than what it would have normally been on March 9th or prior to that when the emergency began, then that is price gouging. And it's not just a civil offense, it's a crime now. You can go to jail for marketing products at those prices. So we are being very aggressive in terms of going after these retailers, and whether that be in a store, a brick and mortar store, or online. And the problem is this, people desperately need that. We're talking about essential products. We're talking about disinfectants and face masks and sanitizers and soap. And not just that, but other staples that people need, baby formula, diapers, toilet paper, even chicken or beef or canned goods. And so this is the time, of course, where so many people are out of work. People can least afford to pay these increased prices, and they're being taken advantage of. So as a result, what we're doing is we are being aggressive. We're going after them. We are issuing cease and desist orders to these companies, and we are getting results. So what we would say to anybody who sees that, please contact us. And if you don't mind me providing our phone number.
No, go ahead.
It's 877-765-8388, or you can contact us at mi.gov/consumer protection. And we have a whole team we have staff that are taking these phone calls. We have a whole team of investigators and a team of attorneys, and we've actually taken a number of different staffers from other divisions in the department, and we've really added to our consumer protection team because this is where the need is the greatest.
What are some of the specific companies that you have done cease and desist orders against so far?
Well, we have a number of them. Menards is probably the biggest. And we've had a number of issues with them. They actually came out and apologized, and they said that they would actually reimburse customers who could show receipts that they had purchased products at these grossly inflated prices, but we're still dealing with a number of issues with them. We have a company called AM Cleaning that we're dealing with right now. We just issued a notification to a Wyoming company that is charging $49 for hand sanitizer. It's case after case after case. So we are having to make a lot of phone calls, and sometimes, businesses are just compliant and they immediately stop engaging in that action. And sometimes we have to go a little bit further. But we are seeing it over and over again. And I would caution folks to be very careful. And one of the things they can do when they see this is they can take pictures right on their cell phone, and we have a mechanism by which they can send that to us at the AG's office, so that allows us to investigate.
You've given out the phone number to your office, and I know that your office has been flooded with phone calls, and you've put this out on social media of people complaining about the governor's executive orders, asking what jobs are essential or compliant. You're fielding a lot of different questions. What would you tell people right now about the questions that they have about the executive orders and the types of questions you're trying to answer?
Sure. Well, the best thing that people can do, and I understand, there are a lot of questions about what creates an essential worker, what exactly is involved in terms of whether you are a worker who needs to work on something that is infrastructure related, and what does infrastructure mean? So going to michigan.gov, there is a frequently asked questions tab just about the stay in place EO. And people can look at that. We're trying to put out as much information as possible. So I've already put out a couple videos on this, and we're going to continue putting these videos out. And what I do is I say, hey, anybody can go on our social media and just ask the question right there. And we are answering question after question after question, specifically the questions that we see being asked the most, that people have the most concerns about. And we're trying to answer as many of them as possible. And we understand there's a lot of confusion, but I'll say this, I think for the most part, people want to do the right thing. They just need to know what the right thing is. And people are scared, and rightfully so. There are people in our state, there's no question about it, getting very sick, and there are a lot of people dying. And, I hope that people understand that the reason for these EOs, this isn't your government trying to control every move that you make. This is literally your government trying to save your life.
And this is something that we're seeing playing out over the last couple of weeks, and people are losing people, and we're all connected to loved ones who are now have been affected by COVID-19. It feels in this arena where we have so many different ways to communicate with people, yet we can't be with them physically. I see you communicating a lot with people online, Twitter, and I feel not just you, but with a lot of elected officials and different people, we're able to see now into a little bit of this personal life that we're all living and trying to work at home. And you've posted videos of your family and just trying to kind of get by as well. And again, Dana, you and I have talked before, you're not shy in sharing your opinion, but what is it, do you believe about this time in communicating with people personally that it has changed for you in some way?
Well, firstly, it's so many things right now are a matter of life or death. And are very serious, but I think sometimes we have to have a sense of humor about it because we'll all go crazy otherwise. I mean, it's just the truth of it. And we are all experiencing the same thing. And that's the thing, is that my life normally might be very different from somebody else's life who's not a statewide public official, and the things that I do on a daily basis. But right now, even though I'm doing interviews with the media, and obviously I'm on my email all day, every day, and on the phone talking about these important issues, my life is pretty much exactly the same as people all around the state right now. And we are all in this boat together. We're all experiencing the same kind of bizarre world that we've never lived in before, not in the United States especially. And we all have to deal with it in whatever way we can, I will say that, I'm somebody who's been prone to sort of use humor in a way to offset difficult times and experiences. But I don't know. I mean, of these folks that we know have died, unfortunately, I've known a number of them already. And I was hit hardest, quite honestly, the other night, finding out that my friend, State Representative Isaac Robinson, had passed. And he's somebody that I adored. We worked together very closely. I talked to him regularly. And to have him be gone so suddenly, and to understand what that meant, not just for him and his family, but for the many thousands of individuals that he represented and his constituents, and really the state, because he worked on so many issues that were important to so many people all around the state. And aside from that, just being a really great guy, I just thought, gosh, how am I going to have a sense of humor anymore after that? But I think that we have to try. We have to try to keep our spirits up so that we can all find a way to get through this.
Yeah. And just my last question for you would be, as you go through this and dealing with a lot of the new issues and reallocating staff to work on those, and looking a little bit in the future with what might be some budget cuts coming around statewide, and you are still dealing with, I mean, you just had the cases out of Macomb County with the Macomb County prosecutor, Eric Smith. You're dealing with Michigan State allegations with a basketball player. There is still so much to the AG's office. How do you think that you're going to be allocating staff in the coming months, or I guess maybe trying to refigure how you put people out?
Firstly, I will say that there are many things that our office is mandated to do. And I mean, we have statutory and constitutional requirements. And so when, we have to do that no matter what. Those are things that we're going to have to prioritize. I will say, as the supplemental that had gone through the legislature, I think $80 million of it was just vetoed by the governor. And I mean, for a good reason, because that money now has to be reallocated in a different way than we ever thought it would need to be prior to the epidemic. $1 million of that was to go to my office for the clergy abuse investigation, which is, an enormous investigation with millions and millions of documents. And so I think it's going to have to be, unfortunately, sort of revisiting what our priorities are. And I know for me, we had so many new units that we had created that I was really excited about. We had the auto insurance fraud unit and the payroll fraud enforcement unit, and this, hate crimes unit. We were doing so much work, making so much progress on our elder abuse task force and robocalling and all kinds of initiatives that I was really excited about. Now, those are initiatives that I think are so helpful to the residents of this state, but they are not mandated by statute, and they're not mandated by the Constitution. And whether we're going to have the money at this point to move forward with those types of initiatives, I really can't say, because we still have to defend the state whenever we're sued. And the fact of the matter is, I think that what the governor is doing right now is incredibly important. I mean, immensely important. And her main focus, I will tell you this, is saving lives. Now, are we going to see lawsuits that come as a result of these many, many executive orders where the governor's authority is being tested in a way that it's never, ever been utilized before? Yeah, I expect we will. So maybe I'll be spending the entire rest of my term just defending the state against those lawsuits instead of proactively doing the other types of work that my office was doing. I hope not, but I think it's a reality that we may have to face at my office. And I will say that I think there's going to be budget cuts all around state government, just the way that we have, big changes made in private business all around the state.
Are you seeing any spike in hate crime reports coming out of ethnic intimidation from COVID-19?
Yeah, well, the biggest problem obviously has been that Asian Americans have been targeted in large part, I believe, because the president and other individuals in government and also not in government have been using terms like, the Chinese virus. And to me, I find that to be pretty abhorrent. This virus has no nationality. As we know, it impacts you no matter where you live on the globe. And we refer to it as coronavirus because that's what it is. It's COVID-19, it's coronavirus. But by using that language, we do see a spike in complaints that are made in regard to the type of actions and the type of language that is used against not just Chinese Americans, but all Asian Americans. So we've had a lot of reports. Most of it doesn't rise to the level of a hate crime because it does not involve actual violence or any type of property crime damage, which is what's required under the hate crimes law. But at a time that we're all scared for our lives to begin with, why does anybody need to have disparaging remarks made about them due to their national origin or their ethnicity? And so, of course, we would ask that people not use that kind of language and to think of their fellow Americans as just that. They are fellow Americans. We're all going through the same thing right now, and we all need to be respectful of one another. But I will say that we continue to have the hate crimes division at the office, and I would encourage anybody who's having any kinds of issues where they have been subjected to threats of violence or property damage to contact us at the Michigan Department of Attorney General. And if you don't mind me just providing the information for that, that's 313-456-0200 at hatecrimes@michigan.gov.
Sounds good. All right, Michigan's Attorney General Dana Nessel, thank you as always. It's great to see you, and we'll check in with you soon. Be well, okay?
Same to you. Best to you and your family. Best of health to everybody and to all your viewers as well.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.